Sure.
And we're live.
We're live.
No more.
What
is love?
Baby, I love it. Oh boy. One sec here. Let me get the rundown up as the first thing on my list.
Mike is actually going, what's the date today? What year are we in?
1947.
It went by fast though, Lori. It did.
It did.
I just want the I can't make the joke.
I can't help you. I can't help you then.
Yeah, I just want to make a joke.
Is this the joke you want to make?
All right, here we go. Are you all ready?
You're trying to make.
Are you all ready?
Ready.
I am ready.
It is Friday, August 31st, 2018. I'm Micus. A new iOS update is now available. Please update from the iOS 12 beta. Whoa.
Dismiss.
I'm Micah Sargent, and right now we are going to talk about the iPhone event, some new iPhones that may be coming, that pesky iOS 12 beta bug that you may or may not have heard about. Even if you aren't on the betas, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw it on Twitter, and so much more, because this is the iMore Show. Joining us back again this week, we've got the whole group here. We've got Renee Ritchie joining us again. Hello, Renee.
I know in my heart what it's like to lose to a pop-up, Micah. To know in my heart that I am right and to fail at dismissing it nonetheless.
And of course, we have the cornerstone of the iMore Show podcast. It's Lori Gill of the House Jameson, first of her name, the unfazed queen of the Mac and the first big cat, Gill of the Great Golden State, breaker of mic stands, and of course, mother of dragons. Hello, Lori Gill.
How's it going? That's quite the name. I think we should bring that up about every 6 minutes so that people have to memorize it and they'll stop calling it.
I want you to wear a blonde wig now with a whole bunch of braids, and we need a little stuffed dragon. That's what's going to happen on the show.
Halloween is coming
Halloween
up,
show. We need you.
There's a Halloween is coming up. I forgot about that. And honestly, Georgia, you are always responsible for costuming. So,
that is true.
Anytime you want to bring costumes to the show, let us know. We'll try to get on your level, but it's going to be hard. Of course, I'm talking about the Georgia _Dow, who we are, of course, happy to have. How are you doing, Georgia?
Good. Tim and I _. It's a good thing.
Tim _and_I are here. Well, let's go ahead and talk about, we know now that the iPhone event is going to be taking place on September 12th at, you guessed it, 10 a.m. Pacific time. This invite that went out is kind of cute because it shows the mothership, Apple's headquarters, and they've put this clever little thing underneath.
Surprised how many people didn't recognize it? They're like, it's a camera, it's a Frisbee, it's a round watch. It's a
Oh, come on. I guess it could be. I'm looking at my digital crown. Like that's the closest thing that I could think to, other than it just being what it is, which is
a new
totally
G charger.
Oh my goodness.
So you make fun of the way people
I'm not making fun of it. I'm just saying that it's not as iconic as Apple thinks it is.
So let me rephrase this. We all like to pick apart the invite to see if there's any hints in it. Guess what? There is. It's that kind of goldish color, and I think we know where that's going.
And it also says gather around children, an iPhone event. You'll get your iPods and Macs, and then it's very cute.
Yeah. So Renee, okay, so obviously there's some things that we know we're going to get, but in addition to the things we know we're going to get, what other kind of hopefuls do you have? And I know we already talked about this, so we don't have to go into it too deep, but now that we know the event is coming, like, just what do you want? What's the most exciting thing for you?
So Mike, the only question we have right now, the big question we have right now is whether Apple's going to do one or two events, because they've done both over the course of history. Sometimes they do iPhone and iPad, like a very iOS event in September, and then a Mac event, maybe sometimes even a Mac and iPad event in October, because they really want to put a lot of attention on the iPhone. Other times, Tim Cook just goes, clear my skies, and every product that they have that is ready to go goes. And it really depends on, because it's a lot of effort to put on an event, both for Apple to stage it all and for people from all around the world to go there. It's expensive, it takes a lot of effort, but sometimes they really want to have focus. So we've got good leaks now on iPhone and Apple Watch. People assume there's going to be an iPad. There's a lot of rumors about a new Mac Mini, a new less expensive entry-level Mac laptop. People are looking for the iMac updates still, and all of that is, and AirPower. I think AirPower has been on a milk carton now, going on 6 months, and new AirPods to go with it. So there's so much potential, and my only question is, are they going to do it all, or are they going to bifurcate it?
Yeah, because if they give us everything all at once, and let's just pretend that all of the products we want are coming out, I think my brain might explode. And definitely people won't want to financially invest in, the 7 new things. But even though they'd be separated by less than a month, probably, I feel like I would be on board to get the iPhone and then on board to get the MacBook Pro or MacBook Air or whatever. But if you announce them at the same time, I might be like, I can't get all of this. But you give me a month separation, I'm in. I'll buy them all.
Not enough money.
Well, like 2 years ago, they did the Apple Watch, the iPhone, the new Apple TV, the first iPad Pro, the 12.9 inch. And it was just like one thing after another. And I just saw my bank account trending towards zero so quick.
But for most people, they're going to pick out their best things. So if you had your one thing, what would you be looking to invest in?
Yeah, like for me, it's the new iPhone, and probably the bigger size, if I'm honest. I mean, again, I have monster hands, so I'd be fine with the bigger size.
We need to see those hands in scale.
Yeah, it's kind of tough. Like I'm able to palm a HomePod, so that's probably like the best example that I have of that. Yeah.
So, wow. Like which phone? The iPhone XS Plus or the 6.1 inch, like the 6.5 or the 6.1, because they're both bigger than your average Bear.
Oh, the iPhone XS Plus is the one that I would like to have. Yeah. Certainly the S model of the 10, and then I think the slightly larger size, just because when I got the iPhone 10, I mean, I knew that I had all the more screen, but going from like a Plus model phone down to this size, when I first held it, it was like, whoa, this is so small. So I imagine exactly. Yeah. So I imagine that this will be like a sweet spot, where it's not quite the, the old school, like huge platform thing that's on the side of my head, but it is right there in that spot that's like, I've got so much more screen now, but not so much that it's kind of cumbersome in my pocket.
Tablet on the side of your head.
Yeah, I don't need one of those.
I'm with you on that, Micah. I really am. I'm thinking go big or go home.
Plus?
What?
You're gonna go back to Plus, really?
This is when I use my husband's phone, who has the Plus right now, and I look at it and I surf the web. And then I go back to my phone. There's a small bit of my coal that I call a heart that feels smaller. It hurts. It hurts. And I like to game on my phone. So actually, sometimes I don't give him back his phone because I'm like, no, I have to read my web. And it's just like, I don't know if it's, I'm just getting older, but I'm like, no, I like the larger size to be able to game and see. That would be nice.
I don't know if it's me. Nice. I don't know if it's my desire to impose my will upon others, but I'm keeping your phone.
I want it.
So here's a 10.5 inch iPad that I can use as a phone.
Wow,
if I want to.
That is pretty impressive. You
can palm that. I mean, that
you could actually.
There's scale on my hands. Like I do have very large hands. So it's like the current iPhone 10 is pretty small in my hands, and therefore the one that's going to be kind of in the middle, I think, is going to be excellent for me.
But I have to admit, and I don't know if Lori feels the same or not, but that new watch looks so hot.
When we talked about it last week, and I was like, I don't need more bezels, whatever. And then I saw that image, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's pretty. It's pretty.
The watch face is like, it's beautiful.
It's super complicated. Why do it have to be so complicated?
I love it.
I like it. It looks fancy.
Yeah, that particular image, I think there's 8 complications on it. That's a lot. That's pretty amazing.
What I'm mostly amazed about with that is that in every sense of how I would expect myself to feel about something like that, it should be overwhelming. But the way that it's designed, it isn't exactly overwhelming. I think it's still a little bit too much for me, but it's not so. It's not like I'm looking at a thing and it's like, how are they squeezing that all into one display? Like everything looks like it has a place and it makes sense. I still think it's a little bit much information, particularly for a device that, the screen goes dark after a while after you hold it up. But
it like a spell casting interface.
Yeah, it kind of does.
But if you could turn on and off whichever complications you wanted, so if you needed to, get rid of one, then it would be, you could put it to your level of complicated.
I'm complicated, just not that complicated.
Right. Your level of complication.
I think like 6. Yeah, 6 is max. 6 out of 8. I don't need all 8 of those complications.
Aren't there 9? Because there's 1 in each corner, 4 in the middle, and then like your appointment is in the top as part of the.
Oh snap! Well, there you go. 9 complications.
The color variance on there is also something that I'm not used to seeing. Like the glow, the Earth view, it doesn't look like that, right? It's not that colorful.
I don't know.
I don't think it is. And that temperature gauge, and again, maybe it's just because we just haven't seen complications like this, but as far as I know, they don't have that much color and variety to them.
There's much more information in these complications too. That's why I was going to call them super complications.
And
it's really super complicated.
They're informationally dense. They're like Tuft, Edward Tuft's book on information density exploded across the watch face. But I'm trying to figure out how glanceable they'll be, because if I look at the watch face and it takes me a long time to mentally parse all those different complications to find what I need, then it's not helpful. But if Apple has made them unique looking enough that my brain quickly identifies what I want, I know it and I move on, then it's going to be super awesome.
I think that you'll also get used to where everything is placed. And so if you're looking for the date, you're going to know that it's right over where the watch hands are. And if you're looking for, I think that we become very quickly adapted if something is always in the same place to be able to look for that. So I don't know. I like the idea it's all at my hand.
Permanency.
What? Object permanency? Yeah, if you've reached that level yet. If you haven't, then this might be.
Hey, Georgia.
You might be like, every time you turn on your watch, you are shocked that it's like, oh my God, it's still there.
Hey, Renee,
Where
Georgia.
did Micah go? He's gone.
Where's Micah?
I'm invisible.
Oh, there you go.
He's moving so slowly that we can't see him.
That's what it was, yes. Well, and I agree with you, Renee. I think one of the things, though, right now, like when I lift up my watch, my most used complication is hands down the Carrot Weather complication. And it just shows me on the watch face the current condition, and it does that with an icon, and then it shows the current temperature, but not the actual temperature. It's like the feels like temperature.
Mine just says you can't handle the weather.
Okay.
But I always find myself tapping on it to go in and get even more info. And so if I could have it be a super complication where it's got that extra info that I would want right there, then I don't have to tap into the app, which is nice.
That is nice.
I'm kind of on board with these super complicated options.
My thought is how long it's going to take me to customize my complications. So I'm hoping they're customizable, because I can just see myself spending a good hour going through the different options and where do I want them. And then, I'll be happy. It's like when you go to a video game and you can change what you look like. I spend more time doing that than playing the video game.
Yes, me too. Yes, all the and mine's more like on a new computer or a new device. I'm like, I have to go through every single setting and tap everything and make sure.
That's why we need to sync home screens, because I do that and then something goes wrong. That's all.
Oh, that's frustrating. Yeah.
But the great thing about the Apple Watch is that quick changeover for your watch face. Yes. So you can set your different watch faces, spend an hour on each one. And then when you're going out, when you're like, I'm going to Disneyland, you switch over to your cool Disneyland watch face. And then when you're like, well, now I'm working out, and you switch over to your workout one. And you spent all the time building out that perfect watch face with all those complications, but you can have 7 of them or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, that is so true. That is so true.
Duplicates where each duplicate has one more bit of information than the previous one, and then quickly switch between them. It looks like it's building out in front of me.
Yeah, like a little,
or you can see your stress level for the day. You're like, I can only handle 3 complications today. And so you're going to have your watch face just 3.
Georgia.
You didn't do your breathe exercises this day, so now you can only have 2 complications.
Whoops, now it's a 2 comp day.
It punishes you. You haven't been doing your work. I
So
like
you
that.
don't get to be complicated today.
Yeah.
But I agree with you, Lori. Like day to day, I have the modular watch face that's sort of like my, hey, when I want to glance at something or when I'm
like a
going to the
dashboard.
store or something like that. But if I go like out for an evening, I switch it to the Pride face and usually wear the white Pride band that goes with it, just because like there's a little bit of color there and it's kind of fun. But it's not as handy as the modular face is. So yeah, definitely. I'm just swipe back and forth between those two most of the time because I'm not a huge fan of like the chronograph and those other ones.
I've really been enjoying the Siri watch face lately.
Oh yeah.
What do you put in it? Like, I love it, but I don't know what to put in it.
I just use what's the default, and it's been great. I didn't think I would like it that much, and then I just decided to give it a try, and I like it.
I should probably give it another chance because I haven't used it in a while, and I'm sure it's improved with new updates and things like that. Because it used to suggest things that I didn't ever use, and so I did go in and shut off some of the options. But then it didn't have very much information at all, and I was like, well, I just want all of my complications, so I might as well just switch back to the other face. But if it's,
I feel like we're running through things way too fast, but that is the perfect segue to talk about shortcuts on Apple Watch. I feel like we're jumping around. Maybe we'll come back to this, but let's talk about that right now. Was it yesterday? I can't even remember the days of the week anymore. Matthew Casanelli, I'm loading our page. It was the 30th of August. So yeah, yesterday from the time that we're recording this. He discovered, along with a little bit of help from Federico Vitici, that the latest beta update to the Shortcuts app shows that you can use the Siri shortcuts with your HomePod and your Apple Watch. Mm-hmm. So that's great. Like these are even more additions to the shortcuts that we're going to get to use that spreads across more of our devices. So I think that's pretty awesome. And that you don't actually need the Siri face to use the Siri shortcuts on your Apple Watch. It's just going to automatically kind of give you those recommendations or run those workflows or something like that. It's not a requirement that the Siri watch face be enabled for it to work. So
I just want the apps to come out that include all the shortcut goodness. I'm waiting.
Yes,
just waiting.
Me too. I am waiting patiently because it's something that's a little strange right now that I imagine isn't going to be the case in the end. And I know some people aren't working on the beta, but we're so close to iOS 12 hitting. So I feel like it's okay for us to talk about this a little bit. Is that there's no easy way to do shortcuts that also involve home app stuff. You like within the Shortcuts app, it's not there. And so at least it hasn't been for me, and I've been digging through trying to find it. The only way that I've been able to make it happen is by having Siri make those suggestions for me, like the way that it does those sort of, here, maybe you want to try this. And so because I had tried a scene enough times, then Siri was like, hey, maybe you want to add your goodnight scene to a shortcut. And I was like, yes, Siri, I've been wanting to do that for forever. Because what I like is the idea that I could do like, I could say, hey, you know who, good night. And then Siri would turn off all of my lights and like make sure the door is locked. But then also like maybe a nice lullaby song will play on the HomePod or something like that. I want to be able to add music and other things to it. And I don't know, maybe if I had a sleep tracker, like bed thing, then it could also like set it to turn on and start tracking my sleep or something. I mean, there's plenty of different options there. And so I'm like, I want the home app to be completely exposed to shortcuts, and I haven't been able to make that work yet. So I'm hoping that changes, or it has changed in the 4th beta. I think we are in shortcuts.
Have you downloaded the shortcuts beta update?
I don't think I've gotten the most recent one yet. So that's like that. I need to do that next because I just got
some experimenting.
Yeah, and we'll talk about this soon too. I just updated again for the thing we were talking about, the bug. But I'm curious. So, Georgia, Lori, and Renee, have you like, what are your thoughts on shortcuts in general? And have you, for those of you who are running betas, like, have you been using them? And what have you found most handy when it comes to those? Have you been ordering coffee with a shortcut, Renee?
Micah, you know Georgia don't beta. She barely puts the
I don't
release
beta.
version on her phone.
But she looks over your shoulder and
I
sometimes
watch
says,
you
other
idiot.
people that beta, but then I usually just go, happy I'm not betaing, because
yeah,
my
of the
phone has to
problems.
work. If I have someone that needs to get a hold of me, they have to get a hold of me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I've been playing around with it. I think I just got was it 2.0 that came out the other day? I just updated to that version. And it's great. I'm not at like Matthew or Federico's level of ninja 90 different things in a row shortcut automation that you basically say the name is Bond and it gives you like a complete printout of your mission for MI6, whether you choose to accept it or not.
And then the phone explodes.
No, but there's like even the library. Yes, dun. There's always so many things in the gallery to just download and try. The only I don't know if we'll get home integration. I really want. I don't know if we'll get it because it feels like they would have put it in if we did. So we just got to keep following those radars. But the only constraint I have right now is that I watch all these demos that Apple does because they have access to everything. And it's like, get my pizza, get my coffee, get my ride, get me that. And I'm just like, I want it too.
Yeah.
Let me have it. So I just, like I said, I'm just waiting so much for all those apps to go live.
Yeah, because Philips Hue is one that's going to add shortcut support like directly from theirs. So that in a way would be a way to go about doing those automations. But like I said, you would think that they would add it because Siri does suggest scenes from the Home app, from your HomeKit framework. So just give me access to all of it, please.
And they never show up in your Siri settings as being offered to you for
no, only like in shortcuts. No, it's only via those Siri suggestions that it does show up, which is pesky because then it's like, what do I need to do? Tap on a scene like 6 or 7 times so Siri thinks that I use it a lot, and then I can finally see it.
Well, that's a little bit of a trick. There we go. Tips and tricks. Shortcuts.
Yeah, exactly. It's shortcut to the shortcut. Exactly. Yeah, a workaround. It's a really great suggestion. If it, you know, when the final build comes out and people want Siri shortcuts with the Home app, there you go. You've just suggested. You know what you could do is tap that scene 6 times until Siri suggests it to you. Freak
out the people in your house by making the lights turn on and off several times, but you'll get that suggestion to use those scenes. Yeah. So that's good. There's plenty more to talk about, but I do want to take a quick break and tell you all about our friends at Thrifter. If you haven't heard about Thrifter, then you have not been listening to the iMore show, because it is a way to save money on everything from gadgets to home goods by shopping based on value and not hype. What does that mean? It means they're actual real deals, not those fake deals that only get you like a few cents off and aren't really anything at all. These are real deals that the Thrifter people are constantly combing the interwebs looking for and finding the best of the best. If you sign up at thrifter.com, you're going to get thoughtfully selected deals for places like Amazon and Best Buy. It's all the stuff, none of the fluff at thrifter.com. And of course, Lori Gill, the hunter of deals, is on Thrifter right now looking for an exciting thing worth checking out.
For all of you sci-fi nerds out there, you might remember a little thing called Firefly. I think we all petitioned to try to keep that show on the air. Remember that? Well,
except for Fox.
You can get the entire 14-episode series for $5 through Vudu. It's on sale for $5. The entire series. If you don't already own it on DVD like I do, there you go, a digital version. Honestly, it's so cheap that for $5, I'll have it on digital too, because why not? And it's available through Vudu, which I think, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, and if nobody corrects me in the podcast, you can correct me through Twitter. I believe Vudu is also connected to Movies Anywhere, which will allow you to watch those movies through iTunes, through Amazon, whatever your Amazon streaming services, or through Movies Anywhere directly, or through a Vudu if that is connected. And again, if I'm wrong about the Vudu, I apologize, but I think
it is connected. Confirmed.
There you go. So thank you. So if you buy for $5, if you buy Firefly, the entire series, you can watch it on your Apple TV through iTunes. It's it's Movies Anywhere is great, by the way, and buying the Firefly for $5 is an unbeatable price.
All right,
do it.
Misbehave.
Everybody go get it. You can also follow Thrifter on Twitter at Thrifter Daily and on Instagram as well. So you can always be aware of those deals. And for those of you who are listening from the UK or from Canada, hello, friends. You can also follow Thrifter UK or at Thrifter CA for deals there. It's a new way to save money on everything, from gadgets to home goods and so much more. All the stuff, none of the fluff at thrifter.com. Thanks so much to Thrifter for sponsoring this week's episode of the iMore Show. Lori, what's happening now?
Boom.
Oh, I think we should talk about AirPlay 2 in Airport Express. Renee, why did that happen?
So, I think people misunderstand how Apple works.
I guess I do.
Well, no, really at Apple, like one engineer can have a profound impact on everything that we use. A lot of the products we have, like from ProMotion to extensibility, all of these things is like one engineer had an idea. And my best guess, I don't have any little birdies on this, but my best guess is someone's like, how hard would it be to do this? Or an engineer went, hey, I just did A for B. It'd be super easy to add it to C. And they're like, what do you mean by super easy? He's like, I don't know, a day. And they're like, do it, because it would add value and it'd make our customers happy. And I don't think it's like any master plan. Like there was this board meeting when Al Gore shows up to talk to Tim Cook and it's like, how do we plan to put AirPlay 2 on my Airport Express? Because Al needs his AirPlay. No, I don't think it like was that level thing. I just think it was, it worked out. Like the stars aligned. A core audio engineer or somebody on the HomePod team or somebody on the AirPlay 2 team is just like, this will also work with that. And they're like, do it. And we got it.
Pretty simple. So you're not saying that you think Apple changed its mind is going to suddenly drop a Airport Express in our laps on this 12th of September?
No, I mean, I still hold to like when Apple can discount. So just to back up for a minute, famously several months ago, Apple discontinued their airport line of routers, which included the Airport Express, which had this great 3.5 millimeter audio jack so that you could attach anything to it and stream music through any of your audio gear. The Airport Extreme, which was the faster base station, and the Airport Time Capsule, which was the base station plus the hard drive. So you could do super easy backups while you were at home. And Apple just got rid of all of them. And it made us super sad. Like Apple obviously can't do everything, but we never want them to lose what we want. We want them to lose what other people want. But Apple always said if it made sense.
Yeah, exactly. Let's just keep it all forever.
Yeah, iPod socks for life. But they would get back. And I really think there is a place in Apple's lineup for something that is a router, that is a HomeKit extender, the way Apple TV and HomePod is, and that's something that does sit in between us and iCloud and prefetches updates and stages everything so that it feels faster to us between where we are and the internet. I think that's a super compelling device. I just don't know if Apple, who is trying to get the new Mac Pro out, the new Pro display out, the iPhone every year, and all the other updates, if they have the bandwidth to do it.
But I know that
the Pro display for the Mac Pro.
I didn't know. Did I not know about that? I don't think I knew about that.
I think we're already rumoring that it's going to be 8K, but I don't want to excite people too much. Anyway, because our packets are what go out to the internet, and I want a company I can trust making my router, and not all those companies are as up and up as I'd love them to be. So I would love Apple to be in that space, but I don't know, Lori. There's so many goddamn products.
I think the only way to be in that space now is to create a multi-home system.
Like by was it EB, OB? I'm blanking on their name.
I use Eero, but there's like UB and or something like that. Yeah, there are a bunch of different ones. I use Eero and it's fantastic. It's worked for me, but I think like I could see Apple. The beauty of Apple making a multi-home router setup is that each one of those can serve as a home hub, which means that there's no latency for Bluetooth HomeKit devices, no matter where they are in your home. So you can essentially create an entire network throughout your whole home of your iPads, your Apple TVs, your HomePod, and now these routers that can be they would know right where they are, that they're the closest thing to send that Bluetooth signal out or Wi-Fi signal, but usually it's the Bluetooth that's like the laggy thing.
And the range limiter.
Right out and say, okay, that light's turning off or that humidifier is turning on, or this is, this because you've entered the bubble here, then these lights are coming on and this door is unlocking.
They're all former Apple engineers who make all this stuff, so just bring them home.
Yeah, bring him home.
So somebody over at Apple needs to just like start doing a little flute singing and trying to bring them all in to lure them into a cave.
I love that we all had different musical references there. Like I went Les Mis.
Lori's one got dark though, like lure them into a cave so they can't escape.
So that Georgia can save them from their suffering.
No, I think
it was
I heard
dark,
Georgia.
I liked it.
I think I heard Georgia say "Chookity." Was that what you said, Georgia? Chookity. Yeah, and then a world blew up.
You're just freeing them from their suffering is all. It's fine.
That's true. That's true. Long as we get our tech, that's all that matters.
But in the meantime, Airport Express does now support AirPlay 2. So anybody out there who was hating Apple for getting rid of their or not producing new and sunsetting the Airport Express, you can at least get still some new support technology in AirPlay 2.
And people who are angry about not having a 3.5 millimeter out for AirPlay 2 now can have a 3.5 millimeter if you can find an Express.
Right. They're probably
there's got to be people out there that still have it, right?
Yeah, for sure. Don't tell them about the update. Buy it before you tell them about the update.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi. You know this old piece of tech that you were going to throw away? I'll take it for $15 off your hand.
How useless that will be.
Yeah, this useless piece of tech. Oh, it's just cluttering up space. Speaking of cluttering. Georgia Dow, I was actually just talking to a friend who was telling me that he had a whole bunch of boxes, Apple device boxes that he used to keep, and they would just pile up and pile up and pile up. And finally, he had a moment where he said, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be the reason why. Okay, I'm going to keep just making musical references. But anyway, he had to get rid of them and decided to toss them. I had that same come to Jesus moment where I was like, and now it's time to get rid of these boxes because they're just like, why am I keeping them? But apparently you have an idea for things to do with your Apple device boxes. Is that correct?
Yeah. So Renee was clearing out, and Renee had bags of boxes, which he had kept, and he was getting rid of them. And we also were getting rid of ours at our place. But Renee had like these huge, like tons of and I was like, these are beautiful boxes. Like they are very sturdy, strong, quality boxes, and they're beautiful. And the wonderful thing is they fit together really nicely. So I'm like, no, I'm redoing my art room. If those of you that are on video, you can kind of see I've started to try to make this art room look somewhat like an art room. Anyways, so I was like, oh, this is great. So I have grabbed the MacBook boxes. See these MacBook boxes right here. And then inside of it, we have put all of the boxes inside. Now, the wonderful thing with the boxes is that they're really, really strong and sturdy. So they're beautiful, they're square, but they're really strong boxes. So they don't have any lips on them or anything that would make them difficult. And then I have all of my fun art supplies. I'm just showing it.
Oh, that's so great.
Nestled inside.
Okay, yes.
And it is just so much fun and cool. And I've done the same thing that I haven't started yet is with the Apple Watch little plastic cases that they used to have and the Apple Watch boxes. They're absolutely amazing for it. So
cutlery and iPad boxes.
Pardon me?
I have my cutlery and iPad boxes and drawers.
Yeah. The only thing is that a certain number of the boxes, they have like little inserts in the center of them that are like really truly stuck there.
Yeah.
So I've been like grabbing them and pulling them apart, and it does damage the edges to the box. So I usually put a little bit of paper or some tape underneath that to make it look pretty. But usually I go to town with them. Some of them I decided it was not worth the amount of effort to be able to do it. But I have been going to town to rip them up so that I can then use them as these fabulous boxes. So keep them. They're really great quality. Nice. They're great for organizing things, like wonderful and for an art room or other things that are really, really tiny. But it's just nice to take a look at whatever supplies you have, and they're all in one place. So pretty fun.
And less expensive than going and like buying a desk organizer kit at the store because you already have these boxes on hand.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. You're already there and they will last and they look beautiful. Like I do like looking at the little tiny Apple logo that shines on the side.
Yeah.
It's just like, look at it. It's like, hey, happy. They're upside down, but they're still happy.
I like it. I dig it. Well, thank you for that, Georgia Dow.
Yeah, that totally gives me tingles to see the it's actually the one that's the MacBook box with the smaller iPhone boxes inside. That one got me going. I'm really excited.
Yeah, look at that. Well, that one's filled with the sparkles.
Ooh, that one's hot.
That one's got sparkles in it. So it's like little tiny packages of sparkly goodness. Yeah.
That are sealed up, very safe, because we know glitter just gets
Glitter's
everywhere.
horrible. Glitter is probably made by the devil who knew how to attract us.
Yes.
But I still love it.
So, Georgia, you made that then. You made glitter, huh?
Exactly. That's true. It's true. Shh. It was our secret. Let it out.
Renee, let's talk about another devilish going on. You put out an article that says Android sucks 10 times more data than iPhone. Would you care to explain yourself, sir?
Sure. So I did a video for this too. So if there's any amongst you, and it's in the podcast, so whether you want to read it, watch it, or listen to it, it's all there for you. What happened was there was this research paper that was put out, and the thesis of this research paper was to see just how much data is being collected about all of us. And it's a reputable source. I checked with Jerry from Android Central. He wrote an article on it to say that as far as he can tell, the research is all accurate. He believes it to be true. It's not one of those FUD pieces just trying to scare you about Google. And what the researcher did, the researcher is really well versed in Android, so much so that he's written numerous books about how to make apps for Android. So he knows his stuff. He put an iPhone on the table and an Android phone on the table and just detected how much data was going back and forth. And an Android phone running Chrome, if you are not touching it, still communicates with Google on average 14 times an hour, 340 times in 24 hours, where an iPhone that's not running Chrome doesn't talk to Google at all. And even if you're saying, well, does it talk to Apple? It talks to Apple like 10 times less than an Android phone talks to Google. Again, even the thing with the Google phone is that it is broadcasting all this data, even if you are not using it. And some people have said, they've pushed back. They've said, well, that's frequency. That doesn't mean quantity or diversity of data. And yes, that's true. But I would argue if let's just say it's giving away your location 14 times an hour as opposed to 1 time an hour. At 1 time an hour, you might see that I drove from home to work or from work to home. At 14 times an hour, you might see every kid on the carpool route that I dropped off along the way. And again, you may not care about that, but frequency is resolution. The more times they ping, well, firstly, the more of my data they're using, and that it's not exactly free, but also the more granular and the better picture of my life they're getting. Mm-hmm. And I sort of dive into, there's 3 kinds of reaction to this. There's people who don't understand or just don't care. And they're like, I'm getting all these free services and they just want data in exchange. Idiots, take my data, suckers. And they just think they're getting free mail and free navigation and all this stuff. And they can't believe it. The other group of people do understand, but they feel like it's a fair deal, that the quality of services they're getting from Google is worth the data they're giving. And the third set of people are like, you want to know what about me? How often and when? No, GFY. You don't have any right to that. And there's a lot of nuance to this because everybody has different amounts of money. Some people literally can't afford to buy an expensive phone. So they do subsidize it with data, but everybody has a large amount of data. We're all data rich. We're all data billionaires, and companies like Google and Facebook and Amazon to some degree are willing to let us pay with that data the way an oligarch or pop star would pay with money. It's like, make it rain. That's what we're all doing with our data. So it is a lot of things to this. And I'm not telling people not to use Google, although there are alternatives. I'm just telling people to be aware of it, especially Facebook is under so much scrutiny following Cambridge Analytica, and Google has largely skated through that. And I think it's important to be cognizant because this paper suggests that Google is accumulating data on us to a far greater degree than Facebook even. And it's something to be aware of. And you might think Google never does anything wrong, but you might not agree with all their policy decisions. Like even their own employees got upset earlier in the year when they made a deal to sell machine learning to drones. And like the thought of our selfies identifying targets for missile strikes may not be something that sits well with you. So I want people to be informed so they can make the best decision for themselves.
And you have a video out on that, right, Renee?
Yeah.
So if they want to take a look at the video where you have like different opinions to that, you also go through it, you break it down, they would go to
youtube.com/Vector Show.
Because like 14 times it was an hour.
If you're not touching the phone, that's if it's sitting on the table idle.
14 times. Like that's a lot more than I think most people would ever expect. But what can people really do? Say that you use, you're an Android user. Like, because I turn off, I'm upset when I use Chrome or anything else and it like suddenly finds my location. I'm like going through trying to switch my location off and turn it off. And it's like, do you want to be more accurate? Sign in. I'm like, no, I want you to be less accurate, less accurate. I don't want you to know. And it still comes up and shows a location kind of close to where I am. And I'm like, I've turned this off already.
There's two schools of thought on this. There's a group of people, and what spurred this research was an Associated Press article that investigated and found that even if you turned it off, Google was still leaving it on. Like, it is incredibly hard to get Google to respect your privacy. You can turn it off in your settings, but there's like 9 different settings pages. I think now with the European Union regulations, it's better. But also, like, if you didn't turn it off on all your devices, they could just go turn it back on. And some people have multiple devices. And there was just way after way that they managed to sneakily really sneakily get your data, even if you told them you didn't want them getting it. But there's another school of thought, like some people who run Android websites pushed back at me and saying, this is a consumer benefit. I can't understand why anybody wouldn't want Google to get as much data about them as possible.
Wait, what?
Can't
Sorry.
understand.
What is a consumer benefit?
They know more about you. They can provide better services.
That's like the creepiest answer I've ever heard.
I really believe this. It's like it's very alien to my thinking, but there's a bunch of people who really believe that the more that someone knows about you, the better they can personalize things for you.
I'm going to be the Android advocate here because
go for it.
So let me start by saying that I agree that we should be allowed to protect our privacy and our data. And I do agree that it's very important that we understand what's being done with our data. And that to me is the biggest concern. The fact that Google, if I give Google permission, that they're collecting minutiae information about me, if I've told them that it's okay to do it, it does provide a better experience for me. That's true. So if I am willing to exchange, just like what Renee is saying, if you're willing to sell your data, we're rich in data. So, with my data wealth, I'm going to buy Google services. If I'm willing to do that, it really is a great benefit to have that extra information. There's a lot of problematic things that come from data collection that could take days to talk about in detail, but I do understand the Android perspective of the consumer experience being a lot better. And Siri is the perfect example of the differences between the two. And you guys can't deny that because Siri doesn't get to collect as much data on us. It's not as good as Alexa, which I know maybe Renee and Georgia, you may not have as much experience with Alexa because you haven't had access to it for a really long time. But I do know what it's like to use Alexa. And when it comes to sort of like giving you what you want, Alexa is definitely better at that. And that's because button.
Oh yeah, so many dollhouses.
Sorry.
No, so my only mitigation of that is we also don't know just how much was Apple being bad at AI in the beginning, making bad choices and doing bad coding and a bunch of other stuff.
Well, I would argue that
they have more data and still be bad.
I would argue that what's happening is that
the Amazon Echo.
So Google just kind of dived in head first with all of our data, and that was very easy to do. And what Apple has been doing is saying, we're not going to do it that way. We're going to do it a better way that's more protective of your privacy and your data. And it's just taking a little longer to hit the same level of ability. I do think that Siri is going to get to that level. It's just that Apple is working on how to get it there without gleaning all of your detailed information for it.
Yeah.
My only problem with what Renee was with what he said others were saying in response to him. So they were talking about like, I don't understand how this is a concern, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think that is that is hogwash, in my opinion, that they don't believe that it's actually a concern, because I think that we can both have I know it's the internet, and really
Yes.
not everybody should get to have their opinions or their beliefs or anything like that. There's like only one way and the right way. But no, we can all have our own personal beliefs and understandings about how we think that data should be handled. And so it's fine that there are folks who say, I'm okay with handing over my data, and in return, I get this really cool sort of like every time I open up the Google app, I've got cards that have all of the stuff about like when I have a plane flight and when there's a ticket for the next concert, da 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 da. But to say to a person who is concerned about that kind of thing that they don't understand how that's a concern, I think that's ridiculous. I think that we should all have better empathy than that and understanding of other people's opinions. And so those of us who then are these privacy advocates, I think it's important for us to understand how someone, and Lori, I think like you're the example of this, where you're talking about like, there genuinely are ways that it makes things more convenient if I say yes on this and yes on this and yes on this. And I get that. And I am sort of in the middle too. I will be a strong privacy advocate in general, because I think that we cannot get apathetic about it. Otherwise, it's just going to keep getting worse and worse. But at the same time, in like my own personal setting, I make those decisions based on what I feel comfortable handing over or not handing over.
And that's the important thing there, Micah. We need to know what's really happening with our data. And that has been the problem all along, is that people like my mom, I love you, Mom, but this is true. People like my mom just puke out their data to whoever wants it in exchange for convenience and don't consider it at all. If she got to look at a very easy to read list of all the things that her data was being used for, she would change her mind. So that to me is more important. It's not whether or not you think it's a concern or whether you think it's more convenient versus privacy. It's that I need to know what it means to be sharing my data, and then I can make an informed decision on what I want to do. This is what I have felt all along. If somebody is saying, you know, you can track how long I take a shower and you can sell it to somebody for $150, but they're choosing to do it, that's their choice. But if they don't know that that's happening,
and if you
then
ask them to
that's
stop
and that's yes, exactly. Like that's the real problem, is that people don't know what they're giving away their data to. They don't know that this is happening. They're doing this in secret. When you try to stop them, they're still finding loopholes to be able to get that information against our will to be able to do it
without our knowledge. And there has not yet been any.
We've asked them to stop and they've not stopped.
Yeah, exactly, Renee. Like when we've actually said, I don't want you to track this, they're still going behind our backs and doing it anyways. That should be a offense that you can go to jail for, period. Because this is about our privacy. And if they are saying, listen, you know, turn off location, that means turn off location. That doesn't mean turn off location in this one browser.
Yeah.
You know, or on this one website. They're going about it in a really sneaky way. And I think that they should have to pay a price for that.
There's one
because
thing
it's the only thing that they care about.
There's like two things onto it. Yeah, because like yesterday, it turned out that Google made a secret deal with MasterCard to tie retail data to Google data to see if you'd actually bought the thing that they were trying to sell you. And they didn't tell anybody. And that sort of stuff, I think, makes it harder to trust. But also, the best way to keep a secret is not to tell anybody. And you have to be aware that if you let another company have a copy of your stuff, you've created a second place for that stuff to be either stolen or abused. For example, and this is real, like it's not paranoia. The NSA was caught using all that equipment to surveil their ex-girlfriends and spouses. Uber was using their location tracking to follow celebrities around the city. Amazon and Google were trying to sell facial recognition, literally trained on our selfies, to military drone and law enforcement projects. That, you know, and this stuff keeps happening. And you can say we take precautions, but all it takes is one act of stupidity, one bad act. Like I use this in the video. When Google Buzz went live, they made a mistake, and suddenly all your location and contact information was exposed, including people who were hiding from abusive relationships. And just having that information is inherently dangerous. And I think people need to know that up front in order to make an informed decision.
Yes, definitely.
That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, and that is the key to this entire argument, is we need to almost be forced to see that information so that we can make informed decisions.
Look at it. Look at it.
Yeah.
But I've talked about this before. Like when you pay for something, you see the money coming out of your wallet or your account. If you like install Linux, you see the time clicking away. Like you make your own server, you see the clock ticking away, but you don't see all your private photos and messages and email being sucked up to the machine and read by somebody else. And I think if you did, it would be more palpable, but it just seems like magic and we don't respect it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that they understand it. Anything that we cannot see that is intangible, it makes it really easy for people to say that it isn't happening because you can't, it's not even the data because people will say, oh yeah, I understand this data. It's happening 14 times per hour. And I've seen someone say it, but you don't actively see that on your phone. If every time you sent a picture, you know, you got a little message saying, Google has seen your picture. People would be like, oh, wait a second. I'm not so sure I'm so cool about this. Oh, Google notices that you've arrived at work. Google notices you've stopped by at your girlfriend's house. Google notices you've stayed there for 20 extra minutes. You'd be like, now maybe I'm not sure I want to let other people have that much access to my life. If I go to take a bathroom break, they're tracking it. That's a little bit creepy. But because it just comes off as like little tiny packets of information sent without our knowledge of it as it's actively happening, I'm not so sure that most people really get what they're giving up. So even if they were informed, because it's unconscious to us and it happens in the background, what we don't see can't hurt us is our thought process to our brains. I don't even know if that would work for most people because it's just convenience. Like, but I made it there and I missed traffic by 5 minutes. It's a really difficult thing to be able to have that grasp of what the cost is.
Google notices you need more fiber in your diet.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be like, right?
What, Google?
We are Google shopping some prunes to your house immediately.
Yeah.
Not even my closest friend knows I need more fiber.
But it's true, though. Our phones know more. It's not even your closest friend. Your phone has more information on you than you do in your brain.
Ew, that's so true.
It's absolutely 100% true, and it's more accurate than your brain. So it actually knows more about you than you do. That's
suspicious of this thing now.
Dun, dun, dun.
Listen here, you better take care of my data.
But it doesn't, right? It just doesn't. And so it's I don't know. I think that we need to be a little bit more upset about it, but I just people won't be because we are complacent by nature. We do the easiest thing. It was great for our evolution because then we didn't do too much work and waste calories where we needed to. But now we just sit around with our phones right next to us and
talk
mindlessly
science to
happy.
me, Georgia. Yes.
Legendary.
the Wall-E lifestyle, it's closer than we know.
Although apparently we were more productive than our what was it whenever we sort of split off from the other? Is it Neanderthals that were a separate species from us?
Yeah, sure.
It's one of them.
One of them. Yeah.
We'll go with those.
Sorry, scientists, you can at me and let me know. But anyway, they were even more sort of meh about things. There's been some recent studies that showed that instead of literally walking up a hill to get better supplies to make tools, they would just use what they had right there on the ground in front of them to make tools. And so they weren't as good.
Okay, I'm gonna go on to the side of Neanderthals and I'm gonna be the devil's advocate for Neanderthals. Maybe they were just smart enough to be able to figure out the stuff that was around them and be able to make tools from them and not have to go up the hill, right? Like it's a really hard thing when you have 6 bone fragments to be able to say, well, this is what this person was thinking at the point in time when they did it from this one little tiny section of jaw that has like,
I think Georgia was hired by some time traveling Neanderthals. She's their PR person and she's trying to make them sound better.
Found out that Neanderthals were not unintelligent creatures, as people have said. They actually had, put like flower bits and we can see them inside of their burial areas. Again, though, what was the intention?
Years from now, the Chihuahuas, those humans weren't so bad. I mean, we're sorry.
No, wait. No. If Neanderthals had iPhones or Android phones, we would actually know.
Yeah, that's true. We would know.
Right, because their data would be tracking them.
It'd be in a format that wasn't compatible, and we can't read it.
Oh dear. Well, that's been Science Corner. Lori, you have a fun little topic for us. What's going on?
IFA is happening right now as we speak, as of this recording. And because of that, all of these tech companies have been launching new products. And I just thought it would be a great idea for us to kind of dig through all the new products that have been announced. Some of them are already available. Some of them won't be out until later this year. I don't believe anybody's pick is something that literally doesn't have a release date, because that happens sometimes. So I want everybody to pick their favorite new product that was launched recently. It doesn't have to come from IFA, but it was probably launched within this past week, which means it probably was announced at IFA. So Micah, let's start with you. What is your pick of new tech products that were launched this week?
Okay, so Philips Hue makes some really great smart home products. A lot of the stuff, well, everything that they have is, well, I should say like 98% of the stuff that they have is HomeKit compatible. So it works really well in my home because most of the stuff that they have connects to the Philips Hue bridge, and then the bridge is HomeKit enabled. And so then you can get access to all of that. Well, some of you may have heard about and may have the Philips Hue Tap. It is this tiny little remote that you can stick on your wall, or you can like sit on a coffee table, and you set different scenes to the different buttons. And the cool thing about it is it uses kinetic energy. So you don't have to put a battery in it. It's literally powered by the taps that you press on. Like by pressing on it, you are powering it and giving it the juice that it needs. So it's a pretty cool technology, because most remotes and different HomeKit switches and things like that require like a button battery, and those are more expensive and harder to find, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this is pretty nifty, because it's like, take it home, put it up on the wall, then connect it, and boom, bada bing, bada boom, you're done. Now that Hue Tap is constantly, for a while, has been in and out of stock and has been like very expensive, and then it'll come up again and it's not as expensive. It was all over the place, and it was clear that Philips may have been trying to sort of phase it out. Well, now they have announced this really cool switch. They're going to be partnering with lighting manufacturers in Europe and the US to have the smart switch that works on both or can work for Philips Hue lighting. So you just stick it on the wall, and it's got 2 rocker switches on it. So you can use it to like dim the lights, bring up the lights. You can set scenes to it however you want. And just like the Philips Hue Tap, it is also powered in that same way. Literally just by touching it, you are powering it. So it's a pretty cool thing. And anybody who's read any of my writing about lighting knows how much I love physical switches, because it is the bridge between the gap of those of us who are HomeKit enthusiasts and folks who just want to switch on the wall that they could touch instead of having to shout out at a box that, you know, controls the home. If I have when a friend comes to visit or something, I don't have to give them some like wide tour and invite them to the HomeKit app and do all this and that. All they have to do is go to the wall and hit a button, just like they would be used to in their home. And that's fantastic. So I'm looking forward to this product hitting the shelves, because I will definitely be adding a few to my house. I already have the Philips Hue dimmer switches. Mm-hmm. They're an inexpensive way to add some really fun HomeKit stuff to your home, because they also serve as HomeKit switches that you can program to do anything you want. So my living room is set up with that, where the top button turns on everything in the living room, the dining room, and the kitchen. The bottom light turns off everything except for a night light, and the middle 2 buttons are different dimming, depending on like if I'm watching television or if I'm sort of just relaxing with a book in the living room. So
it's like you're setting scenes, but you're using a physical button for it.
You get to use a physical button to set the scenes. It is fantastic. So yeah, looking forward to this one coming. The Euro version is supposed to be in early 2019, and the US version is supposed to be coming by the end of this year. So Stay posted for that.
So my pick is the Ultimate Ears Boom 3 and Mega Boom 3. Now, when Logitech Ultimate Ears, however you want to word that, when they first launched the Boom years ago, I can't even remember what year now, I got my hands on one of those and fell in love with it immediately. For its size, it has almost the most incredible sound you can come up with. I've actually come across 1 or 2 portable speakers of the same size that do have better sound now, but at its time, it was the best audio that came from a size of a speaker that small. and they've just recently updated. And the new Boom and Mega Boom looks like they have a farther range for Bluetooth, which is nice. And they have a completely new look. They have a better waterproof rating, and they are. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
That's what I was going to ask. How waterproof is it?
So the Boom 3 have an IP67 rating, which is 3 feet of water for 30 minutes. Now, again, I have the Boom. I've dropped it in water tons of times. I rinse it off all the time, and it's been fine. I haven't tried to just kind of like set it in water, because there's this part of me that just thinks you can't just do that with technology. But the Boom 3 and the Mega Boom 3 will have the IP67 rating, which is 3 feet of water for 30 minutes. So, I mean, you know, you can't just like sit it in your pool while you're lounging for 6 hours, but you can drop it in the pool. You can have it sitting on a little tray that floats in your pool and not worry if it does go in the water that something will happen. And it's also less expensive than the current model Boom and Mega Boom at only $150. And I'm very excited about it. It comes out on September 18th. So
Ooh.
That's my pick. And running down the list, Renee, what is your pick?
So I really didn't want to have to do this. I regret that it exists and that I ordered it because the world is terrible and keeps making things that I really, really want. So this is the new Samsung portable SD drive, and it is just so fast and so big. And when you do a lot of video editing, size and speed are your enemy, like, because the 4K files are just large, and storing them is a pain, and transferring them is a pain. So anything that can store more and transfer faster is a blessing, an expensive blessing.
Holy moly.
Yeah,
I just saw the price there.
Yeah.
This is for 2 terabytes. You can go to 512, you can go to 1 terabyte.
Ouch.
2 terabytes is expensive. It's about the same as adding 2 terabytes of storage to a new MacBook Pro.
It's about the same as a MacBook Pro.
You can literally
just buy another MacBook. No,
and it's, well, you could, but you won't. Like, you have to RAID them, and it's just messy. And this is the next generation of super fast SSD, and it's super expensive to go with that speed. But once you get used to it, once you're velocitized with it, you just never want to go back. It's like, this Lamborghini takes so much gas, but I can go 0 to speed limit so fast. So I can't say I recommend it to everybody, but for people who do work with video files or large, renders, machine learning models, anything that requires large amounts of storage, it's Thunderbolt 3, which means it's wicked super dope fast, and it's super tiny. It's reinforced and rugged for when you travel. So if you do have if you have like a 1 terabyte or 2 terabyte new Mac Pro, you should really back that up, because you're always just one accident away from losing all your work. And this is a really, I can't say affordable, but it's a doable, which is super important. Like, first you get to the ability to do it, then hopefully it gets cheaper to do it. And right now we've just gotten the ability to feasibly, quickly, voluminously back up this stuff. So it is called the Samsung X5 Portable SSD Thunderbolt 3 External SSD, and it is glorious.
Glorious.
Georgia, what's your pick?
So we just went to a room called The Void. It's a VR gaming room.
I did the Star Wars Void.
Did you do Star Wars one? We haven't done it yet. We're waiting for it to be set up in the place near Toronto. Was it amazing?
Oh my God, it's amazing.
Okay, yeah. So we did the Ghostbusters one. Renee was there, and that was it's a virtual reality 4D experience. So you feel the wind. When we were getting the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, we smelt burnt marshmallow. When Slimer slimed us, you feel water. Like, it was really cool. When you feel something, like, it's actually there. So you see a chair, you feel a chair. There's a handrail, there's a handrail. It was a really neat experience to that. And at home, we have a whole bunch of wires to our VR systems, which, first world problems, but it does take you out of the game. Plus, we've now had to return 2 sets of wires, because when you spin one, really expensive. But my kids spin, and I have realized, which is a strange phenomenon, but people naturally spin only one way, because you would think that you would spin both ways and your wires would untwist. But when you're fighting a game, you have just like how we chew. So another weird thing about human phenomenons is we chew in one circular motion. it's always the same circular motion. So if you're a right chewer, you are just, I know it's going to bother everyone
I'm
when they eat
freaking
next.
out now.
Yeah, if you're a right side chewer, you will be a right side circular chewer. If you're a left side circular chewer, you're not. And there's actually like left-handed and right-handed, there's more people that are one way than the other. Almost most people. The same thing for spinning. When you are turning in a video game, you almost always will turn one way. I noticed it for me, for my kids, for my husband.
I've got that
And
feeling
so,
like right now.
and I don't even know why that would be, but there must be a reason for it. So we have busted 2 of the wires that we have hanging on the ceiling to come down. So you don't step on them anymore and unplug them. But because you're spinning, the wire twists inside and breaks, and we busted 2 of them. It's a really expensive fix because you have to buy a new wire. Yeah. So we are so excited because the Vive wireless adapter is coming September 24th. And that means we are going to be free, not tethered. We are going to be fighting, jumping, rolling, spinning.
You got no strings on me.
And that is it. Yeah, we're like Pinocchio when all the string were cut. Like, this is going to be the happiest.
You're a real boy.
Yes, exactly.
Or you're Ultron.
I
think you're actually Ultron.
yeah. So it's coming out. We're really excited to get it. It is not cheap, so it's priced at $300. Launches then. We could wait, but I'll be honest. For the one is because we keep on going through wires, which
sounds like it's worth it.
It will be worth it. Plus the stress of like people come over to our house and they want to do VR. And then we can't have them, and they're all sad. So it'll be good across the board. They're like, we want to see you, Georgia. Yeah, they come over and they're like, we want to see you, Georgia. And then I'm like, well, the VR system isn't working. And they're like, well, maybe I'll come by next week.
Oh no!
Oh, it's true. It's true. Even my own family members.
It's damn true.
Oh,
I mean, that's why I haven't come yet, is because I knew that the cord was broken, and I really just want to come.
You see, Mike has always been invited. He's never shown up. It's because like fair. It's true. I understand.
Once the wireless thing hits, I'm there.
Oh yeah. So again, September 24th, we will be pre-ordering and having that pick up, and then we'll be playing VR won't see me for a while. When
I saw that announcement that you were the person that I thought of, I was like, oh, Georgia's gonna love this. Her VR room is gonna be perfect now.
Finally.
So, Georgia, is it literally just called Vive Wireless Adapter, and it is available from Vive?
Yes.
So it's actually pre-orders are actually September 5th. So let me just make your day a little bit better.
Oh yes, sorry. Yes, the pre-orders are starting, but its release date is the 24th. So I actually only cared about when do I get this. So you're absolutely right, Lori.
But you better pre-order it on the 5th so that you get in line.
My husband is going to be like waking up at like 12 o'clock to try to pre-order
like iPhone day.
You don't even understand what Renee and I had to go through when it took, like they were sending the Vive to us and it took a while. How bad was he, Renee?
Yeah, he was so terrible.
He was really, really terrible.
How terrible was he?
It was horrible. It was like, and then he got it. He was the happiest person on the planet. So we're overly excited for this.
That's pretty cool. I am excited to see pictures of you fighting crime in your VR room with it.
Oh yes, in my mind I look awesome, and then in the photos,
ghosts.
Not so much.
Well, it's been a full day. We are over our time by a little bit, so I think it's time for all to say goodbye to all our company.
Goodbye, goodbye, good friends, goodbye. Those youngsters out there listening will know what I'm singing right now. Bear in the Big Blue House. I used to watch when I was a kid. Thank you for putting up with all of my different musical references today. Thank you so much for listening. Of course, thank you to Jim Metzendorf for editing the show and making us all sound great. Georgia Dow. If people are wanting to get in touch with you or get some help with boundary issues, parenting, other things, how can they do so?
So if you're dealing with depression, we just did 2 new videos, one on emotional intelligence and one on conflict resolution. I think they're great, but I'm biased. You can check out Anxiety Dash videos. They'll be out soon. I'm hoping in 2 weeks. And if you want to get a hold of me, I am sometimes on Twitter, and that's at Georgia_Dow.
Excellent. Renee Ritchie, if people are looking for you online, where can they find you?
I am at Renee Ritchie on all the social things. You can find my column and podcast and videos at iMore.com/Vector.
Excellent. And Lori Gill, if people are looking for you online, where can they find you? And take your time, because I have a dog that's just really, really wanting my attention right now. So I'm going to hold him and bring him back to the camera.
So I like to write things on the internet.
When you come back, everyone be quiet, like we were like waiting
for him. Okay, here he comes. Everybody be quiet.
Hello. Did you go already?
Yeah, we were waiting for so long, Micah.
I'm so
but it was
sorry.
worth it. No, I'm just joking. We're just messing.
Henry.
Lori's not even done. Lori's not even done.
Oh,
But
you
have
turkeys.
Chihuahua goodness, which is always worthwhile.
He was so sad.
Aww. Hi, baby. Okay, so cutting back in. You can find me at Appleaholic at APPAHOLIK.
That's like horrible for me that's
M-O-U-S-E.
dyslexic. I'm like, oh no.
MOUSE.
Yeah,
And you can find me at Lori Gill at most other social things. And you can find me at iMore, where I will be talking about the iPhone event and all the new things that are coming up in just a couple of weeks. I'm very excited about.
Excellent. Well, if you are looking for me online, you can find me at Micah Sargent on Twitter. And you can also head to chihuahua.coffee. That's CHIHUAHUA.coffee for links to all the things I do. As Lori said, you can find us all over on iMore. Thank you again so much for listening. We will be back next week. I hope, depending on when you're listening, you have a great week or weekend. And this has been the iMore Show. Henry, signing off.
Goodbye, Henry.
He's waving.
That was so cute.
Bye. Bye, Henry. Y'all come back now, you hear?
Y'all come back now, you hear?